Greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking. I am Dale Barcy. As always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe. Leave us a comment and let us know how you think. Here on Nurses Talking, we speak to nurses anywhere in the world and at any stage in their nursing journey. And today I am very, very pleased to welcome Ber Oomen out of Amsterdam. Ber Oomen serves as the executive director of the European Specialist Nurses Association organization, the ESNO, where he leads strategic initiatives to strengthen the position, recognition, and autonomy of specialist and advanced practice nurses across Europe. He is passionate advocate for harmonized education and certification. He works to ensure that nurses' competencies are recognized and valued as integral to Europe's evolving health systems. Bear is a strong promoter of nurses' roles in vaccination and infection prevention. And he also leads programs that highlight the contribution of nurses in public health, patient safety, and sustainable care. He's a speaker, engager, and alliance builder. He's known for his inclusive approach, his ability to translate complex policy into practical action, and his dedication to advancing nursing as a cornerstone of European health resilience. So, welcome, 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 Ber.
Well, thank you very much, Dale. It's really a pleasure to have a conversation with you.
The pleasure is really mine. But firstly, I really want to know why people are nurses. So, what brought you to nursing?
What brought me into nursing? Maybe it's the other way around. How did nursing found me? Yeah, it's mostly it's in career path. It's not always a very choice. You're growing into this. So my my background is very much different. I'm one of these what we call the second career
Mhm.
professionals. So my initial domain was in goldsmithing. So my father was a jeweler, and at that
Mm,
time, it was a bit of a decision of the fathers what what direction you should go in or what best was
yes.
for you. So I completed a complete course as goldsmith, and I was very much into this. But it never really felt as my home.
Mm,
Uh, so then I got into contact with people who did nursing,
mhm.
and then I thought, well, maybe this is something for me. I'm not sure. I have a great of doubts, but all the
Yes.
stories I heard. So once I went to a hospital, and I just just can I have just an open conversation, and so they said, well, yeah, we do second chance nursing careers step in, but you have to wait at least 1.5 year because then there's a vacancy
Ah,
again. So I had a good conversation, and then I remember it was on a Thursday, and a Friday morning I got a call. And they said, "Well, just just be prepared because there's now a vacancy now. So then you have to sign a contract." I said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, let's do it." I was still very young, huh? So I was in my 20s. So I realized that it was very crucial to make choices, and I did make the choice.
yeah.
And well, just after a month, and I said, "Well, this is my home. This is what I can do. This is where I see my career." So this is a bit of the angle. So I still find that nursing found me rather than the
Rather
other way
than the
around.
other way around.
Yeah.
So that brings me to a question, Bert, because you said, at the time, your father's kind of led you into the goldsmithing thing. So how did this transition from goldsmithing to nursing go over with your dad?
Well, he was very open-minded, very kind. And he said, "Well, this is if this is your passion, it is good." You see, you're always bringing what you have done before also in your new domain.
Yes.
It's also what I see, for example, who are people who are doing engineering or are technical and they're going into nursing. They break this technical with their nursing. And from my side, goldsmithing is not very much to nursing, but I brought art, literature, the ethics, the
Hmm.
ethics on this, and because we were taught to learn to look very good at paintings, and that's where I learned to look and to feel and to see, and that also brought me very much into this communicative profession, because it's not only the patients but also their colleagues
Yeah.
at interdisciplinary level.
Yeah. 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 So you are the executive director of the European Specialist Nurses Organization.
Yeah.
That brings with it some unique challenges, I would think, and opportunities too. So what would you say they are? Some of those challenges.
Well, the challenges is first when I just started as a novice, and I said, well, I looked up at everyone and said, oh, they're much better than me. They're much better than me, and I think I started to believe too long in this. So I think it's only in my 40s, my 50s, then I thought I can make a difference, and there's much wider. So I was at the clinic, and I was very much surrounded by passionate professionals and and great personalities in the patient in the patient spectrum. But I felt there is more than only that word.
Mm,
Um, I, s- I saw publications coming up, and I saw so much aspects what could enrich the profession. So I got in contact with the National Nursing Organization in the Netherlands, and that's where I felt a very great community of professionals, colleague professionals, who are doing a lot of innovation, what I didn't find at my work. So I
hmm
said, well, just the nursing is far much more than your work, and that's where I got engaged with the national organization, got in contact with European, and that's where I started to say, well, and what's going on European side. So where could I step in? And that's a whole horizon of opportunities where I thought, well, just let's find my way out over there. So maybe you're the other who's going to find me. Yeah.
And that is the thing about nursing right there. As you step into different spheres, each sphere has so many other opportunities within it. I mean, it's almost endless. I'm beginning to say it's like the universe is constantly expanding.
Yeah, and also that's also what I found out is that the horizon or the spectrum or the field where you're operating is also changing because of me.
Yeah,
Uh, I'm here and they
yeah,
understand me. Well, it from the clinic to the where I started to the novice now to be active at the European Parliament and just be having the voice there um, sounds the there's a very big uh, difference. But at the end, when I'm in Brussels, they're all just humans. They're also people like me. And
hmm
then I say, well, uh, at first I thought, well, I'm just a nurse, and I said, no, 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 just that's and they taught me that everything I said is valuable, and that's also what I saw reflecting in comments that I said, well, the nurses say this, the nurses say that, and I said, oh, it makes a difference, and it seems like a very big distance. So European policies and in the political domain, but at the end, it's more closer by than many realize.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And it is interesting that so many of us as nurses kind of feel that way, that what we bring to the table, we start out feeling, well, it's not that much. We trust in us. And then it turns out that really we end up learning that how valuable our time, our experience, all those things that we have garnered along the way, how very valuable they are.
Absolutely, that's a great that's a great statement. And yeah, if I like to if I comment on your on your statement. There's a lot of reciprocity in this, and
Yeah.
that's mutuality. So in the COVID, well, we all know what really
Mm-hmm.
happened. And in Brussels, I was once at the meeting on the in the of the farmer domain, and one of the representatives of the pharmaceutical companies, he said, "Well, your nurses, you really did very well." And I said, "Well, but what about your story? What what's your story?"
Mm-hmm.
So, and he said, "What's can you tell me a story? What's really stick to your mind?" And then she said, "Oh my God!" I said, I think it's the first one who was asking me that question. You see, we
Mm.
then she explained we developed this vaccine, and then we had this struggle just to having to the right facilities, to hospitals. He
Yeah.
said, but when it was produced in Germany and it had to go to Czech Republic, the borders were closed, and the truck drivers they had only 120 hours just to distribute it, but then they couldn't cross the border. So,
Yeah.
and some borders, they were very strict. They say, "Oh no, this is not the rule." So they had to change European policy and creating what they call the Green Line, where
Mm-hmm.
essential medications could come across. And then she explained how it was that she worked for 24 hours with the European Commission. They had sleepless night. They worked throughout day and night, through the weekend to have this done. And she said, "Well, it's people people don't realize how what the stories are on this side, and that's
Mm-hmm.
where we this element brought two very interesting aspects, because we think about nursing and everyone's making a lot of clapping and a lot of noise,
Mm-hmm.
but we also need to recognize all the other parties, and with that's also with what I learned in Brussels, that that's not only one side of these of the table who had hard times, but there's also
Yeah.
one, and that creating this reciprocity, creating very nice, very good bonds, and very good partnerships, and so that's a very big asset. And that also learned me just to understand. Yeah,
Yeah. 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 The whole thing just strengthens the healthcare team as a whole.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also these dialogues are very instrumental, because
Yeah.
then they say, well, you need to talk to the nurses, to this guy, this representative of the specialist nurses. They have good stories, and their
Mm-hmm.
storytelling and their sharing creates a very very good understanding, and just breaking down the silos.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Breaking down the silos. That's a huge thing you just said, because that's one of the reasons for this whole thing that I do.
Yeah.
Breaking down those silos. So, for those of us who are not totally familiar, tell me a little bit about the ESNO.
The ESNO, well, it's a very well established, and in the meantime slowly getting rather well known in the health ecosystem. Um, it's an association. We do not represent countries, but we represent as full members the specialist groups. So, for
Hmm.
example, the European Organization of Nurses in Anesthesia or Intensive Care or Rheumatology, and they are in line with the national group. So there's a lot of national groups, and then you got this European group. So there's a lot of umbrella organizations.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
in total there are 25, and in our organization we have 16 full members, but also some informal contacts. So these are the members. So we, in relative, we have very few numbers on representative, but the constituencies are immensely. And on top of this, we have also called organizational associates. For example, degree nursing in pediatrics,
Uh-huh.
or and they are allied, but also individuals. And the individuals, so we have we are very formal, established with the constitution. We are embedded in the law. We have also, and we are also recognized as a professional organization under the European Transparency Registration. So we have this vertical line very well established. So we have the members, we have a board, we have commissions, we have activities, programs, we have income from our own resources. Members, we've as associates, we do also working with the EU projects where we gain budget from, but also work with the industry who are very supportive to us. So this is the bit of the vertical, but horizontal. We
Yeah.
feel ourselves more like an inspiring community, a
Mm,
home for nurses who want to be more than uh, just doing only I do my thing, just leave it,
mhm,
because there's so much more. There's a lot of inspiration. So that's how the overall character of our organization is. Is windowed, and well, we basically work on three pillars. The
mhm,
first pillar is what you also mentioned in the introduction, just
mm,
harmonize education. For example, if you want to be a nurse in intensive care in the Netherlands, it's a full-time bachelor education for 3 years, and you
mhm.
have to do a certification, and there's a special education pathway on this. But in other regions in Europe, there is not such a study. So if you work there, for example, on intensive care, and you do this for 2 3 years, you get some certificates. Then it's the
Yeah.
same. So that's why the for nurses from certain regions they come to the Netherlands, or England or Scandinavia. They do their training, stay there for a while, and then go back home, or they stay. So
Mhm,
we need to have more investments in education on specialties or an advanced level or in certain domains in all European regions. So that's what we try to promote in Brussels. The second pillar is that we contribute to health issues. Um, so, for example, if there's a program on the European Commission, for example, on vaccination, on infection prevention, and they like to have experts, then we're going into our continue in our community. So who are the experts? But also, for example, on diabetes or on infection prevention. That's what I just called, but also on rheumatology or wound care. So that's why we as nurses go to the European Commission and we provide our expert opinion. So,
mm.
and the third pearl and the third pillar is nursing well-being. That's a very broad
That's
thing,
a
but
big one.
but we like to promote it as so also and mental well-being, but also working conditions. We do not touch salaries because it's a
Mm,
very national competence and it's overall the same. So the salaries are low, so it's not. Well, we can touch it. We can touch it slightly, but we do not have this in our program. So we want to promote our work in the context of our profession. So these are the three pillars what we're doing.
hey, okay, huge, huge.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
So I'm going to shift a little bit and just ask you, what, if anything, do you think you'd like to see change about nursing life, nursing education, if anything?
Um, what it's the understanding or the recognition that education is a pillar of quality. So a lot of nurses have graduated, they work maybe for decades there, and a lot of institutes do not have the capacity just to provide this ongoing education.
Hmm.
In the US, you have this more standardized and courses, but also on certificates. So, but in Europe, this is still very opaque. So this is very fragmented. So we try to see that education and career pathway development is more becomes more as a natural aspect in the health. So if there's a patient coming in into the hospital, there's a kind of a budget for them to recover and the whole
Mhm.
recovery pathway. But we like to see that a certain percentage is always going fixed to training and education throughout the career pathway, and that's a bit of a money thing,
Mhm.
but it's also what we try to explain. There's also an investment. And what I'd like to see is that we do not make ourselves as professionals dependent on external motivation or incentives who provide this for us, but that we as nursing organization are more challenging this. So, well, uh, without education, then you doing it without me. So
Uh,
we need to have this kind of a cultural shift on this, or yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, but
I
also
see.
that the education or that the achievements are recognized. So,
Yes.
for example, if you're doing a PhD course or a master level in one country on, for example, on dialysis, on urology, that is also recognized in another
Recognize.
country, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's at the moment not the case. So that's also a bit of the pillars where we try to work on. So it's not only education, harmonization or education, but also the recognition of certification, and that's why the European specialist nurses organizations by ETHM are very active on this, and we like to, as ESNO, we like to promote this at European level.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And that kind of thing, that kind of standardization really is so important. Our world is not as divided by physical boundaries as it used to be. So if people are moving about, we've really got to have some more standardized recognition along, over borders and in different countries, because otherwise we're kind of working blind.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's health is universal. And so
Yes.
we have this we created this we have a series of events, and the events is not only going to an event, listen to the keynotes, have your abstract, have your presentation, then go home. No, after every event, we like to create a report. So we kind of creative uh, a process or a program on this that we can see, well, okay, we did this theme, we are going to continue this theme for 3 years with a sub theme, and then we're going to another. Now we are also doing each year a congress in the European Parliament and Commission environment. So on the 4th of November we have this, but we're also collaborating with advanced nurse practitioners organizations, and we have also in mid-November our a collaborative congress in Hong Kong with a lot of representatives from Asia, but also from the United States, people coming from Australia.
Hmm.
So that's where we try to create this kind of growing model of recognition that we can say, well,
Yes.
the nurses
Yes.
are doing good, but that also um, gives this nurses also the self-esteem that they can say, yeah, I'm proud and I'm going to stay in this job until, despite all the difficulties and if I have a bad time, I always have a very nice community to work with.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So speaking of being proud of being able to stay in this and that you're doing a good job, can I ask you what one thing you think you're most proud of that you've done?
We're still here.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's in 2008 then when that we formal established this organization, and the first 5 6 years what are we doing? And then we
Mm,
have some succession of on the presidencies, and once we had this presidency, and she said, well, let's strive for harmonization for education. Okay, that's great. And then the next years that comes, and then um I was really surprised that that the meaningfulness of our organization, of our community, gets more um,
Yeah.
gets more value.
Yeah.
And the COVID, it really drove this very much up to
Drove
a
it.
level which I never could imagine
Yeah.
it would come in. So yeah, so while the so sometimes people are saying, oh, how's ESNO doing? I said, well, it's growing fast to hard where to follow. So now we are really pushed to create, for example, a long-term business plan
Hmm.
because there are so many people who are asking what is ESNO. So we are also now defining. We did a members consultation, and that's what's your expectations, and so that's also a bit of the the thing where I'm most proud of, that everyone is really getting engaged, but they also see, well, it's not about being coming to the European Parliament. No, but what's your voice? What's your meaning? So
Yeah.
where
Mhm.
you can say, well, within 10 years, and then you can say, well, I I've been a part of this wonderful journey. So that's what I'm pretty pretty proud on. Yeah,
Awesome.
just being the part of this development.
Yes, 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 yes. I get that. I can see that. I can see that. So, shifting a little bit, what advice then? You've done this. You've gone from being a goldsmith, and up the ranks, and now here you are representing nurses on a national, international level. What advice would you give to someone who wants to be a nurse?
Um, I think find a good mentor. Find a good mentor. Mentorship is very good, very relevant. Um, and there was a professor here in Brussels. He is very well known. It's called Walter Summers, and I had really, because he was also advisory to the European Commission on Health Workforce,
Mhm.
but he's also one of the co-establishers of the ESNO a long time ago. He's now retired professor. Um, but once he discovered that he was is kind of a secret mentor. So because so as a mentor, so, oh, am I your mentor? I said, well, I'm not sure if you do realize, but you do. So
Mhm.
you are very important to me.
Mhm.
And just find the people. Just if I say, well, what's my advice? Just find the right persons, and don't go cheap. Find the best of the best in your perspective. Chase them. Just if you see them, going to LinkedIn, get a profile, read it, sending it. Just do it as if it is your neighbor. Just don't be too frightened, and just people like to be mentored because they really likes to see people grow, because as every nurse once also was in this situation
That's
where I
mhm.
started this interview with, just as I thought everyone is much bigger than me, and then so well, yeah, maybe at that
Mhm.
time, but over time you will grow and you will grow and you will better understand. So sometimes people say, well, how do you grow? Well, so well, I mean, my I had a lot of reading, but not on science. But I've been reading the stories of Chekhov,
Mm.
all
Okay.
the old
That sounds like
classics,
that. Mhm.
all the old classics, and they really learned you just to look at persons more than thinking that you think that you know them.
Me too.
So
Mhm.
just going a bit broader than only the science, the nursing. So if I tell people sometimes to talk about health, I say, well, don't mention nursing. And it's also in Brussels. I got some very big learning curves. So when I was once there, and they say, well, then I talked about nursing. I said, "Bear, please, 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 forget nursing." So I started about health from the nursing perspective, and said, now you're talking. So that's, yeah. So that's also a bit of the advice that people give. Just think wider context, and find a good find a
Mental.
good mentor, and don't go for cheap.
I like that. Don't go for cheap.
Yeah, yeah.
My last question, Ber. We've been talking very recently, or it's come up in conversation very recently, fairly recently, about self-care. Because I think one of the things that nursing traditionally teaches us about taking care of others, but never, ever, or very often not teaching you about why it's important that in taking care of yourself, you need to take care of yourself in order to take care of others. So, two-part question. What does self-care mean to you? And what do you do to take care of you?
Um, yeah, but I'm also puzzling a bit about this question, and there was yeah. So I don't have a very good answer to this, but I, I once had a saw an interview of a person on the who did a very big study, a very big book on the meaning of life. So it was very
Mm,
philosophical and very holistic, and he created a book, and he was and then he said, well. uh, he went to his mom and he said, "Mom," his mom said, "Well, to his son, what are you doing? This big book, what's you did so much?" And then he said, "Well, let me let me ask just the other way around, Mom, what's the meaning of life? What's self care?" And so then he said, "Well, just make other people happy, and that makes you happy." So that just being very much aware of yourself
mm,
and just learn how to not to be involved in this momentum where you have to raise your profile and go on TikTok and going on LinkedIn and be proud and be everywhere with pictures with just relax. Because if you're creating a post on LinkedIn with a lot of people around you, then it might bounce back. So modesty, be relaxed, having a good smile, and just take care and let's just do some exercise and just sometimes go out of the house and just relax and do something very much different. Do something very much different.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, and you know, those last two things that we talked about, you talked about being multifaceted and also, you know, doing stuff now. That's just different from nothing. That's just recognizing yourself that you're not your whole life is not nurse.
Yeah, it can be it can be a trap, but
Yeah.
I think there's nursing. You see, if we don't see this as doctors, the doctors is not the phenomenon of all the doctors or all the physiotherapists. Although by nursing we do, we stick as a
Hmm.
kind of a community, but this sticking can be very too tight. Where you can say because
Yes.
I'm a nurse, and then you can see also on these definitions because create your own definition, please, and stick to it, and until someone else tells you is right, and then be open just to revise this. So that's also a bit of this self care. This that you allow yourself to have to be in this evolution, and yeah, and yeah.
Exactly, exactly. But I cannot tell you how thankful I am that you consented to have this conversation with me today. I truly appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Well, thank
Do
you,
you,
Dale, for the wonderful questions because a very good question raises also makes you learning. So thank you very much.
it's my absolute pleasure, my absolute pleasure. And thank you again for doing this. In the meantime, Bear, stay well.
Okay, thank you very much. You too.
All right.